Hi everybody, welcome to Boost Biz Ed. This morning we have a wonderful speaker, Dr. Don McGrath, and we have decided to change horses in midstream. Unfortunately, we had a low turnout this morning, so Dr. McGrath has given us the option of a different talk that we had to jump on. So Dr. McGrath joins us from Colorado Springs this morning. He's an award-winning author and speaker. He was a senior leader in Fortune 500 companies for over 20 years, and now he helps entrepreneurs establish themselves as undisputed experts and grow their businesses. So welcome. Thank you so much for coming, and we appreciate your flexibility.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
But what I offered to Amy and Dan is I've been training for at least the last 6 months very intensively on becoming one of the best speaker that I can be, the best public speaker that I can be. It's a very important part of being an author. It's a very important part of, if you're going to use your expertise in your business, it's a very, very important part of that. So that's why I've been trying to train to that. So I'm going to share with you as much as I can in the next 30 minutes about the things that I've learned training with some of the top speakers in the country. So I titled the talk, Become an Influential Speaker, How to Move People to Action. After all, when we speak, we're not speaking to lecture. We're not speaking to tell jokes and entertain. Our objective is to move people to action, and I'll explain more about that as I get into the talk. Have you ever wondered what it would be like to know that when you got up in front of an audience to speak, you were going to give an award-winning talk? Have you ever wondered what that would feel like?
Yes.
Have you ever wondered what that would feel like, what it would feel like to, at the end of your talk, have people run up to the front because they so want to talk to you because of what you told them?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what I'm about to share with you, and I'd like it by a show of hands, would you like me to share with you an award-winning talk structure? I've won awards with this talk that moves people to action. Yes?
Yes.
And by a show of hands, would you like to know 5 key techniques that some of the best speakers in the world, like Les Brown, use to move people to action? Yes?
Yes.
There's actually, when I give my full talk, which is 2 hours on this topic, I do a training on this topic, there's actually 29 techniques, but I'll only have time to go over a few today. So my promise to you is that you will have at least one practical thing that you can start whenever you give your next talk. These also apply to webinars. They also apply to video, okay? So my promise to you is that you will have at least one thing in the next 30 minutes that you will learn that you can start applying right away.
Perfect. I am.
My
feverishly,
hope
I'm
is that
feverishly taking notes here.
At least one person who's watching this, and I know we have a small room here today, but maybe one out of the 2 or one out of whoever's online has what I call a ninja moment. And a ninja moment is where you go, oh my goodness, I never heard that ever before. I'm going to start adopting that like right now. Okay? So if you have a ninja moment, for those here in the room, I'm going to give you a little carabiner trinket, you know. So this is kind of going to be, I got a few of those, give away a little gift if you have a ninja moment. So if you have a ninja moment, raise your hand and say ninja. All right.
Okay.
Ordinarily I would run to you. Today I might.
We won't make you do that.
I might scoot, you know. I might scoot a little bit. But there's a problem. When we speak to groups, in general, we have subconscious things that are going on in our subconscious processes that try to protect us. So often when we're hearing someone, we're thinking of all kinds of excuses why it might not apply to us. So the techniques I'll be showing you today are ways to overcome those things, put people at ease, engage with people so that they will be more open to listening what you have to say. Does that sound good?
Yes.
All right. So who am I and why should you listen to me? So I'm an expert rock climbing coach, and I developed this expertise over a period of years, and I really have developed into a world expert in mental training for rock climbing. And speaking is one of the ways I did this. And I'm an award-winning author, award-winning speaker. The talk architecture that I'll show you is the one I've been using to win awards. When I'm going to speak off, when there aren't awards, I still have people come up to me and say, that was one of the best talks. So, and there's a very specific recipe that I've learned on how to do this. I've given hundreds of talks. If I go back to my corporate career, that number's probably thousands of talks. And I spent 9 years learning about this, so you don't have to. So my objective is to bootstrap you and teach you. Is it okay with you if I share a personal story?
Let's do it.
All right. I was born in a small town in upstate New York, a little town called Scotia, and I was one of 5, the youngest, and the only boy. So no hand-me-downs for me.
Yeah.
Now, as I grew up, I discovered that I was quite good in math and science. Who's ever discovered that they had an inherent talent at something and they ended up pursuing it? Well, I ended up getting my bachelor's degree, my master's degree, and eventually my PhD in electrical engineering. And that served me very well. I worked in Fortune 500 companies, leading groups of hundreds of engineers designing chips, semiconductor chips. And everything was going quite well in my career for many years until one thing. My wife wasn't happy. She was an office manager in a small office, had been for many years, but she was bored. She was just bored with it. She was complaining about it. And I still remember the day. We were in Glenwood Springs, Colorado, celebrating my birthday, and we were having martinis. And man, those martinis were really good. Because I turned to her after she was once again lamenting about her situation, and I said, well, quit. And not only were the martinis good, but they were strong too, because she did. And she went to go follow her passion, which is food. So she moved out of the house, went to culinary school. We used to live in Fort Collins. She went down to Boulder for culinary school for 6 months and ended up opening a restaurant. This is her with her restaurant business partner. And she was following her dream. And it got me thinking about, what is my dream? I liked my career well enough, and I was making a ton of money, but I knew there was something else. Like, I knew I could have a bigger impact on the world. Who's ever felt like you could have a bigger impact on the world? So I was thinking, what do I want to do? So I got trained as a coach, and at the end of that period when I went through my training, they said, you should really put on an event. Put on an event. And so I put on an event, and no one showed up. And I asked myself why. And the reason is because I had not established myself as an expert. I just didn't have the credibility. I printed out flyers and I told everyone about it. I booked a room at the hotel, but I really hadn't earned their respect. I hadn't earned that credibility. So I went on a journey to establish myself as an expert. And like I said, I have established myself as a world expert in mental training for rock climbing. I published this book. I've sold tens of thousands of copies of this book. It's titled Vertical Mind, about mental training for rock climbing. And it really has established me as a world expert. I've been invited to go overseas to train people and such. And now I follow my passion for using climbing, speaking, and training. All right, I'm going to pause there. There's a talk within the talk here. So I want to pause and have a teaching moment. What did I just do in telling that story?
You established yourself as the expert.
I established myself as an expert. What else?
I think you're connected. It's a way to connect with people because we're going to find things in our background that parallel yours. Yeah.
Beautiful. So I said I was one of 5 children. How many people in the audience might be one of 4 or 5 children? Probably a few, right? How many might
or
be
they know somebody, or they
know
like
someone,
I have 5
right?
kids, like
or you know someone, or you have 5 kids.
Right.
How many people are the only boy or the only girl? Well, quite a number of people. How many people connected with my journey, right? The different pieces of my journey. So nobody really cares about your story. We're always told, tell your story, tell your story, tell your story. But no one really cares about your story. What they care about is seeing themselves in your story. Ninja? Ninja? All right, ninja. All right. What? Oh! Luckily it wasn't a heavy duty one. So yeah, they don't care about your story. They want to see themselves in your story. So it's as many things as you could put in your story that will connect with people and make them laugh and connect and get to grow to like you, the more they're going to be interested. All right, is that good?
Yeah.
You want more?
Yeah.
All right. So, why speak? You know, there's lots of ways. There's social media. There's all these other ways we can connect with people to grow a following. What makes speaking special?
You have that human-to-human contact.
Human-to-human contact. Excellent. What else?
It's a distraction from all the digital stuff.
Distraction. Yeah, we get digital wear out, right? So actually having a human interaction is
Right.
getting rarer and rarer.
It
Sure.
is.
Well, there's a number of things that speaking is really good for. Building your business, and that's not just selling your product, because you
Right.
can sell your product. It can also be to generate leads and also to find promotional partners or other people to do things with. I've been to many, many events in the last year, and yeah, I've sold some things. Yeah, I've generated some leads for my business, but I've actually come across some really good partners that I'm doing business with right now. That we're actually, the two of us or three of us together are 10 times the value to the audience. Does that make sense? You can recruit to a cause. It doesn't have to be about business, right? If I have a cause, I can recruit people to my cause. So it's a really good way to recruit people to your cause. It's very efficient. It's one-to-many. If I want to sit down and have meetings with 100 people, how many hours is that going to take? Hundreds,
Hours.
right? Hundreds of hours, right?
Oh my God.
100 people to have meetings with 100 people, because not only do you have to schedule it, you got to have the meeting with them. Half the time, or maybe a third of the time, they're not going to show, or they're going to have to reschedule at the last minute. So incredible amounts of time. But if I can get 100 people in the room and effectively communicate with them, just like I would in a half-hour conversation with them,
Yeah.
wow, is that efficient or what?
It's not death by coffee.
Yeah, so it's extremely, extremely efficient. It's rich communication. Amy mentioned human to human. So it is, except, video is good, social media is good, copy's good, but when you can actually have a conversation with someone, and I'm going to teach you how to do that in a teaching form. And it establishes you as the expert. If I'm up on a stage, what does that say about me?
You know something.
I know something, right? Otherwise I wouldn't be on stage. So it really gives you right out of the gate.
Yeah.
Like when Amy introduced me, automatically I was an expert in what I claimed to be an expert. You often have a qualified audience. So you're not just bumping into people at a party, you're not just bumping into people on the street, but when I go to an event, I know it's mostly entrepreneurs, or I know it's mostly people from corporate, or I know it's mostly, because whoever hosts the event knows.
Yeah.
And if you put on the event yourself, you know because you invited the people.
Right.
So you have a qualified audience in front of you. You can target your message. That make sense?
Yes.
Is that good?
Yes.
All right. And it's fun. They say speaking is more fear than death. But I don't know. I work with a lot of speakers, and a lot of speakers have a lot of fun. The key is having the confidence that you know what you're going to talk about,
Yeah.
and you feel comfortable up on the stage. That's really it. It's comfortability. All right, so let's begin with the end in mind. I'm a huge fan of Stephen Covey. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People changed my life. One of his things that he taught me was begin with the end in mind. So when you go to give a talk, again, we're not here to lecture, we're not here to entertain, we're here to move people to action. So what you need to think about before you give your talk, when you're crafting your talk, what is your call to action? So let's talk about a call to action. What is a call to action?
It's where you're telling people what to do.
You're asking people what, right? You want somebody to take an action, exactly.
Yes.
You want them to do something. And for the sake of the time, I want to get through as much of this talk as I can. I'm just going to skip to, okay, here are some possible calls to action. If I'm an author or speaker, I may say, hey, I've got a booth out in the lobby. I would love it if you came to see me at my table, and I would love to gift you a signed copy of my book. Okay? So you can say, come see me at my booth. You can gather leads via text message. That's a very, very effective way. There's good ways to do it and not so good ways to do it, but it's very effective. You can have a chair drop where you can drop an information card on chairs. That actually at bigger events converts better than text.
Ah.
Than text.
Good to know.
It does. ask them to buy your product.
What's a chair drop again?
A chair drop is, let's say
Like if
I
you
didn't
drop a
bring one with me,
postcard
but-
or something.
Yeah, let's say my chair drop that I've used in the past is I've got this little carabiner. People love carabiners, right?
Yeah,
They use to put on their backpack, carry water bottles. So on this, I will staple a flyer that says, hey, if you like what you saw, I'd like to gift you a tool that I talked about in my talk. It's called the BHAG Builder. And all you got to do is text this word to this number, and I'd be happy to email it to you. Or you can put on, if you fill out this information and hand it to me, I will gift you something. So you actually drop it, you put it on all the chairs.
Okay.
And a physical thing is becoming more and more valued. Like actually direct mail is probably the best lead generation right now compared to many other things, because actually mail people open, because the amount of mail we get is decreasing.
Yes.
All right, so it actually, people open it.
It's true.
Testimonials. You can ask people for testimonials. Are testimonials useful in your business? Absolutely.
Yes.
So you can ask for testimonials. Hey, if you really liked what I did, what I delivered you today, I know we didn't have much time together, but I would love it if you could meet me out in the lobby and tell me what you thought. And then at that time, you'd ask them to make a video testimony. You can say, you can ask them to join my cause, or you can say, just tell your friends. Tell your friends, I've got a 5K that I'm sponsoring that I'd love to get 150 people to. All right, so there are some things there are 5 things that make a call to action good. Without any one of these things, it's going to be much less effective. All right, I'm going to share them with you. It should be singular. One of the best ways to get people not to do anything is to confuse them.
Yeah.
If I make an offer and I say, oh, well, I'd like you to come meet me at my booth, or you can text this number, or I've got this thing you can fill out, or you can have A, B, or C. People won't do anything, right? I mean, if we don't know what to do, it's not clear to us. If there's a question in our mind, as soon as I walk out the door, I'm done with you, right? I'm on to, where's my donut? Where's my coffee? Oh, I told Susie I was going to catch up with her at the break. So it should be singular, one thing. If you're going to ask one thing. There's some ninja tricks around that I probably won't have time to go in today, that you can actually make multiple calls to action, but you got to be very tricky about it. It needs to be reciprocal.
Okay.
I say, hey, come out and meet me in my booth. I'd love it. It's I, right? What's in it for them?
Right.
But if I say, I'd love it if you came and meet me at my booth, because for the first 10 people, I'd love to gift you a signed copy of my new best-selling book. Now it's reciprocal. I'm asking them to take an action, and I'm going to give them something in return. Needs to be compelling. Who has ever opted into something and received back some lame 7-point checklist? I mean, really, those days are gone. Those days are gone. So if you're going to offer something, it needs to be compelling. Something really valuable, like a book, a really valuable tool that maybe is part of your coaching program and has some real meat behind it. Not some lame-o checklist. The days of the lame-o checklists are gone. It needs to be compelling. It must be concise. I can't spend 5 minutes talking about what I want you to do. It's got to be very concise and very, very clear. Is this useful?
Yes.
If you do these things, you're much more likely to have people actually do them. And I'm going through this way faster than I ordinarily would, so if I'm moving fast, just kind of pause for a second. And I'd be happy to send out these slides. So, if you want to take notes, but I'd be happy to send you the slides. All right, so this is an example of a good way, a way that I found really works to collect someone's information, generate a lead from the stage. Let's say I'm giving a talk and I'm videotaping it, right? I'm giving a seminar and I'm videotaping it. I might say something like, so you might have noticed that I'm videoing this. Who thinks that the video of this would be really, really valuable? Yes? All right. Who would like to get a copy of that video? Okay, well, for the first 10 people who text video to this number, you're gonna have to answer a couple questions so I can get your email. I'm gonna email that video to you once it's produced. And you know, I assuming the video comes out well, it will be valuable, and I'm gonna turn it into a product. You know, I don't know, if it turns out good, I'll probably charge $100 for it. So, you know, if you'd like to get this as my gift to you, go ahead and do this. This is where a lot of people don't do this. You gotta give people the time. You gotta say, no, it's okay, take out your cell phones. It's okay.
Yeah.
Because they've been told, you're in an event, put it on airplane mode, turn your ringer off, put it away, so you gotta give them permission. No, go ahead. Take out your cell phones. Just go ahead and do it right now, I'll wait. I really wanna get this to you. Is that useful?
Yeah.
And that will, I mean, this I've had sometimes 80 to 90% of the people in the room
Wow.
take this action when you give them permission and the time. Okay, let's talk about the call to action. Actually, I'm not going to take the time to do the hot seat, but because I want to get through more material for the people who are online. What I ordinarily do in this seminar, I bring somebody from the audience up and we work on their call to action, like live. Okay, what's your call to action? But today, you know, that we don't have time for that. So what must our talk do? If we want to move people to action, what must our talk do? Any ideas?
Motivate.
Has to motivate, right?
Right.
Has
Be
to-
emotional.
Good if we can connect to them emotionally.
Connect, right? Yeah.
Specifically, it has
Yeah,
to get them to know, like, and trust us, right?
I should have known that.
Has to know,
should
like,
have.
and trust us. It has to have value, right?
Yep.
Right?
It has to have value and it has to overcome objections. So what if I came right out, Amy introduces me, and I come right out and I throw that last slide up there saying, hey, you might notice I'm videotaping this, and you know, do you think this is of value? Would you like to? No one's going to do it, right? No one's going to take out their cell phone because I haven't shown any value.
Right.
You don't know me, you don't like me, you don't trust me, and I haven't overcome any objections.
Yeah.
Okay.
And my objections are like, I don't have time, I don't have money, I'm not good enough, this won't work for me, someone or something won't let me. Those are the common things that we all have, right, in our subconscious. So it really has to, you have to know, like, and trust, show value, and overcome objections. So I'll be sharing with you now a talk architecture that I have experimented with refined. I've learned this from working with some of the best speaker trainers in the country. And this is best for a short talk.
Okay.
You know, from, I call short talk 5 minutes to 30 minutes. There may be some different things you do in a long talk, but I want to focus on the short talk because often that's what we get. My experience is most of the time we get the opportunities to have short talks, 5 to 30 minutes. So if you're giving a short talk, you know, in a long talk you might come out and build rapport. Hey, how's everybody doing? You know, hey, and you might try to build some rapport. If you got 5 minutes, you don't do that,
No.
right? So you have to grab attention. You have to grab people's attention. And there's a couple of ways that are effective at doing this. One, I can shock them. I might say, I was dead once. Or I might say something like, I was a talk that was really effective. The guy came out and he said, there will be flying autonomous vehicles in the city of Los Angeles by the year 2020. Now I got your attention. I can also use dissonance. Anything I can say that makes you go, huh? Like I come out of the stage and one of my best talks, first thing I say is, I'm one of the top rock climbers in the country. And people see a 55-year-old skinny guy on stage and they're kind of like, what? You know, so anything that makes people turn their head a little bit, get their attention. The next is you need to introduce the problem and the opportunity. But you can't just tell people the problem, right? That doesn't work. If I just told you the problem, you'd be like, not very interested.
Right.
I have to show you the problem is your problem, right? I have to engage you. How many times did I ask you questions that you almost had to answer yes to? How many? Like
Several. 3, 4.
3, 4, I think more than that even.
5.
Right? So many.
Yeah, a lot.
A lot, right?
Okay.
And I would actually ask you, you know, I'd raise my hand like this, and a lot of times you would raise your hand. And what I'm doing there is I'm engaging you in having a like mind with me. Do we like television shows or that we agree with or disagree with? That we agree with. So if I can get you to agree with my point of view, the way I see the world, you're going to be more on the page with me. So asking questions that the audience will obviously answer yes to. Who would like to get the most value out of our time together today? Who's not going to, so
Right.
asking those yes questions. Also, bringing them into the story. Letting them know that this problem is for them. Here is I'll tell you a ninja trick. I won't make you identify this one. But if I'm in a room, let's say of entrepreneurs, and I'm a very successful business person. Let's say I have a 8-figure company or something. And I'm up here talking to entrepreneurs, and I'm going to propose a solution for entrepreneurs. Well, there's a pretty good chance that people in the audience who are new at being an entrepreneur are going to say, what you say doesn't apply to me, right?
Right.
So tell them it is. So say, you can segment the audience. Say, if you're a new entrepreneur, what I'm going to share with you will benefit you. If you're a successful entrepreneur that's really just gotten hold and business is really beginning to take off, this will help you. Or if you're really successful and just want to take it to the next level, what I'll share with you today will help you. So explicitly tell people this problem is for you. Okay, then you make a promise. What was my promise?
We will have I just remember the ninja thing.
Okay. Ninja's memorable, right?
Right.
But at least one actionable thing that you can use.
One actionable.
So
Right,
one
yeah, something
actionable
like that.
thing. So make an explicit promise. This is what you're going to get. Now, in speaking, that's also called an open loop. Because I'm telling you to look for something. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I'm telling you, look for a ninja moment. I'm telling you, look for an actionable thing. And so now your brain in the background is going, I got to keep aware for this. I can't be checking my phone. I got to be watching out for that. And that's what speakers call an open looping, where you say, hey, watch for this, or hey, there's this box over here that we're going to open later, right? So it really opens your brain.
Sure.
Is that useful?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, the next part is really the bulk of your story. Actually, I'm just going to combine these two because for the sake of time. Okay, this is where you give the content. This is where you're giving the real value, right? You've drawn the audience in, you made them a promise, and now you're going to teach them something, right? So people are most open to learning through stories. So when you're speaking, never make a point without a story. Never tell a story without a point. And if you can add a quote to the end of it that relates, ninja. Okay? If I'm giving a talk about overcoming adversity, and I say the quote, and I do this in my talk, it was Henry Ford who said, whether you believe you can or you believe you can't, you're right. So many people know that quote that a lot of the audience will actually complete that sentence before I do. So have I drawn them in?
Yeah.
I've made them part of the presentation. Okay, so that's a ninja trick, if you can add that quote at the end. Why do we start every chapter, almost every book ever written with a quote? We love them. We love them. So you tell your story, and I always encourage two things. One, your story will be most effective if you tell what I call the exceptional underdog story. If I come out here and I tell a story about how great I am, people turn right off. But if I come out and I tell you how dumb I was, and how I made mistakes, and how there was a struggle, like when I told an exceptional underdog story earlier, when I said I trained as a coach, I put on this event and no one showed up. But then I learned. So an exceptional underdog story is basically relating to people, listen, I was where you are. I was probably less where you are. But I've learned some things and now I want to teach it to you. So exceptional underdog story. Always, well, I suggest that you lean toward humor.
Yeah.
Because people love humor. The most popular TED Talks have more laughs per minute than the most popular Seinfeld episodes. So, except if you have a very serious topic where it might not be appropriate, lean toward humor. When you make your point, it should be clear, motivating, and succinct. You may want to tell your story, and at the end of that say, and the point of that is. Don't leave people guessing. Like, tell them that you've done the work.
Okay.
The point of that is, and then a quote. Is that useful?
Yeah.
That moves people. And then for a longer talk, you just have more stories, more points. More stories, more points. For a 10-minute talk, it may be one story, 1 point.
Right.
Okay? So that's your, and there is a way to possibly embed calls to action in that, but I don't have time to go into that today.
Sure.
And then comes your call to action. Useful?
Yeah.
All right. How am I doing on time?
Is it only 10:21?
Yeah.
So I got about 10 minutes?
You got it as long as you want.
I mean, you can really go as long as you
I
want.
go as long as I want?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you like me to go as long as I want? Is this useful to you? I mean,
Yeah.
As long as you're done by 11, I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Same
I gotta
here.
go by 11. All right, so I'm gonna give you more than the 5 things.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna give you more than the 5 things. Okay, I'm gonna share. There's 28 or 29. I kind of forget the number that added up on these 2 charts. These are what I call foundational tips. So these, if you're speaking, these are foundational things that if you know, they will make you a much better speaker. Okay, so one thing, stage position and movement. What does it tell you if I'm over here as a speaker?
That you're ready to run out that door.
My position on the stage says a lot, right? It says I'm not with you, right? So when I give a talk, and often when you give a talk in a big auditorium, you'll have slides on either side of you. You'll have a slide over there, here. I want to be as, not obnoxiously close. If I'm on a stage, I want to be very forward on the stage. If there's a row of people here, I want to give them a little bit of personal space, but I want to be right here. So I could be having connection with them, okay? Now, if I have something right behind me, if I don't have a lot of words on my slides, it might be good to be here too. You just kind of have to know. When I'm teaching, I'll tend to stand off to the side because I often do have a lot of words, okay? So really, being forward makes you the authority, establish your place on stage. Now, movement, people who are new to speaking, I can't really demonstrate it because of my broken foot, but what we tend to do, and it's natural, there's nothing wrong with it, it just is distracting. We do the box step. So I come out on stage, I start talking, I realize there's an audience there, I get scared, so I take a few steps back. Who's ever seen somebody do this?
Oh, yeah.
It's what we do, right?
We've all done it.
We've all done it, yeah. And then what we do is we tend to walk to the side because we don't know what else to do. And then we're like, that was dumb. Then you walk forward, and then you come back, and you do like a circle or a box step. We do it. I mean, I've seen just hundreds of speakers do this. So you just have to be very conscious that that doesn't serve you well. That's just distracting. People are like, why are they doing the box step, right?
Yeah.
Maybe not consciously, but they're thinking, why is this person moving around? So if you're going to move, I suggest moving, if you don't have to move for a reason, like you're running across the stage to make a point, then I suggest, a couple steps this way, a couple steps this way to make the people feel the love in the room.
Mm-hmm.
But, just don't go doing the box step. It's probably the toughest thing you can do. But just be very conscious of it. Slide content. I'm not a big fan, except for in a seminar like this where I really trying to give a lot of information. If I'm giving a short talk, I like pictures. I like images. Why images?
People process images 60 times faster than they do words.
Bingo. And they remember them.
Yes.
And they remember images. So if you want people to get what you're saying, if you want them to remember you, use images with as few words as possible. And in a short talk, that's very, very possible. When you get to an hour-long talk, it gets harder because you got to remember more. But in a short talk, it's quite easy. So I would lean toward images, very few words. Think $1 a word. You got to pay $1 a word for every word you put in your slides. Episodic storytelling. There's narrative storytelling where I say, I did this, then I did this, then I did this, then I did this. So I could tell, one of the stories I tell in one of my talks is how my father died when I was 7 and how my mother told myself and my sister. And I could say, well, my mother came and got my sister and I, she brought us into the front room and she told us that our father was never coming home again. That's narrative. Episodic is where I engage your senses. It's where I bring you to that time and that place. So instead, I may say something like, my father died on January 1st, 1970. And I still remember the date because I could still smell the pine from Christmas in the air. And I still remember when my mother came and got my sister Donna and I and brought us into the front room of our drafty house. It was a 60-year-old house. It was very drafty. And as she knelt down in front of us and placed her warm hand on my hand, as she told us he was never coming home. Which one are you more likely to A, be engaged in, and B, remember?
The second one.
The second one. So that's called episodic storytelling. The more you can bring people to the place, to the time, with their senses, the better off you're going to be as in terms of a speaker. Easier to do in a long talk, harder to do in a short talk. Inflections. I tend to be the Energizer Bunny. And so when I first began to speak, I would come out on stage as and people get tired of it, no matter how exciting what you have to say for them is. But if I could just consciously slow it down, people begin hanging on every word. So you can use that inflection, extremely powerful. It's easy once you become conscious of it. Time and space. So if I'm on, is this good?
Yeah.
Just, okay.
Yeah,
I want to make sure I'm good use of your time. If I'm on stage, what is, in time, what is this? Where I'm pointing. Where is that?
To the
In time.
9 on the.
That's the past.
Oh, that's the past. Oh, sorry.
This is the past. Not only is it the past, it's where all the bad things have happened in our lives. So if I'm talking about, your excuses, where in the past you said, I don't have enough time, I don't have enough money, I'm not good enough. And I'm referring to the places where problems were, because those are in the past. Because what I'm going to be sharing with you is how much better things can
be in the future.
Is that useful? Subtle, very subtle, but you know what? If I'm consistent about that, people won't be asking, why is he, why is that back there? Because I'm used to seeing like time go this way. When you're looking at almost anything, time goes this way. But as a speaker, I gotta be aware that's your perspective is past, future. Okay, where is this?
Up, heaven.
Heaven, right? That's something great. How about this?
Hell.
Bad, right? Bad, something bad. And before I told, and Les Brown is a master at this, and I'm not nearly as good. But early I said, I still remember that day when my wife and I were having martinis. And I was, where is that?
It's like
Mm-hmm.
memories.
But you're looking up, like it's a fond memory.
Yes, it's a memory,
Right.
and it's not here.
Yeah.
I could have said, yeah, my wife and I had these martinis.
Right.
But if I said, yeah, my wife and I were having these martinis, and people will start in the audience, they're going to start doing that too. Because they're going to be thinking of a fond memory of theirs. So when Les Brown tells a story, he'll say, and I remember when I was 8 years old, I went to my mother and she said, Leslie, and man, it just brings you there so well. Very powerful, very advanced technique, but very, very powerful. Offer placement. This is the past, bad.
Right.
This is the future,
Good.
good. If I have my product on stage, where am I going to place it?
To the future. Good.
Good, right? So
Yeah.
I'm going to place my product probably on that table. So as I'm talking about the future, as I'm talking about the solution, as I'm talking about things that are good in the future and how people are going to move forward, obviously I don't want to have my product be there. I don't want it to have it directly behind me because you can't see it. So does that make sense?
Yep.
It's all about just cognitively being consistent with what people expect or want to see. Enunciation. If you say some words in your jargon a lot, you can learn to say them very efficiently and very fast. Like I used to talk a lot in my vertical mind lectures that I used to give about self-limiting beliefs.
What?
Exactly. And I had to slow myself down and say self-limiting beliefs.
Oh.
But see, I had said it so many times, and I'd written it so many times, that it became so efficient for me to blurt it out, and people weren't hearing it. So if there is jargon that you use in your talk, be very aware that you can become really efficient at it, and slow it down, enunciate the words separately. That make sense?
Yep.
And just once I share this with you, you're going to start seeing this in other people. You're going to have more fun. You're going to have more fun watching people speak with some of this.
Well, I'm thinking about it. A lot of the things I already do, which is good.
Same here.
And then, but also I'm thinking about past presenters who have done these things. And so I'm like, or a TED Talk where they've done this stuff.
That's what they're doing, right?
Right.
And they do it because it works.
Yes.
They do it because you lead people logically and emotionally on the journey, and eye contact. If I'm talking to the crowd, I want to make eye contact with individuals. Obviously, you don't want to be like staring at somebody. That's creepy.
Right.
That's creepy. But you want to make eye contact with people to let them know that this is for them. Right? This is for them. Not looking over the eyes, looking over the heads of everyone all the time. Physical contact. When you're telling an emotional story, and this is probably more if you're giving a long talk. It can actually help people to connect from you, and I've done this very effectively, even in a 15-minute talk. Get off the stage, walk among the people while you tell your story. You will get very close to them, and if you put your hand on the table, on the back of a chair, if you know someone, if you put them on their shoulder, you will connect with that person, and you connect with everyone. So actually getting closer is helpful for if you have time. And especially in that story part, where you're telling your story, helps you really, really connect. Energy matching. If I come out on the stage and it's 7:30 in the morning and everybody at the conference has to catch a flight by noon, and they had to wake up at 5 to come for the early session, and I come out and I'm the Energizer Bunny, I'm like, hey, how's everybody? They're gonna be like, oh man, you are too much. Like, right? Or if it's a marketing sales thing and everybody's up and pumped and I come out and I'm like, I was dead once. Right? I mean, okay, there we go. We went from here to here.
Yeah.
Right? Or here to here is not good. So when you first come out, you need to be sensitive and watch where's the audience coming from. And you should match their energy where they are then. You can then proceed to bring them up or down with your stories. I suggest you try not to bring people down unless you have a very serious topic that needs to be down. But I say 99 times out of 100, you want to bring them up in their energy, engage them. So energy matching is very important.
So, and what I've always learned is that you want to try to be just above where they are.
Mm-hmm.
Like, did you say that?
Yeah,
not like over the top.
Not like,
if they're here, you want to try
exactly.
and be here to pull them along so that it's almost like you're tethering them with.
In general,
right.
You want to, people like enthusiasm in a speaker. I mean,
Sure.
just across the board, they like enthusiasm in a speaker. So yeah, you want to be a little more energetic than they are to get them to sit up in their seat a little bit.
Right.
But if you come out and you offend them with your energy, they're gonna be like, dude, it's 7:30, I haven't even had my second cup.
Exactly.
And you're like spewing all over me, then I just can't even handle it.
I find the same thing even in sales calls. You know, you read your audience in sales calls where you
harder and harder on a webinar, right?
Yeah,
Harder and harder on the phone or on a webinar, but
Yeah,
absolutely, you need to match that energy. Hand position. So, what does it say to you if I come out on stage and I've got my hands behind my back like this?
You're introducing
boring.
someone? You're the butler introducing someone?
I might be the butler, right? I might be the butler.
I would immediately say, it's not going to be very interesting.
Not going to be very interesting, or psychologically, some people will feel I might be hiding something.
Ah.
And they might be like, what's this person going to say to me? What are they hiding? You know, good or bad. Same thing if you got your hands in your pockets. Looks disinterested. What are they hiding?
Yeah.
You know, it's just not very interesting. How about if I come out and I'm just kind of, again,
Same
not
thing.
interesting, right?
Not interesting.
This.
No, you're closed off.
I'm closed off.
Yeah.
Turns out that when you come out on stage, if you want to be kind of in the psychologically neutral spot where people are listening to you and not distracted by what you're doing with your hands, this is the position. This is open-handed. You can see what's in my hands. It's natural. I'm relaxed. Watch politicians. They do this all the time. It's not distracting. So if you come out on stage, this is where you start. You can then make gestures.
I think I've been doing that really unconsciously,
Yeah.
but as I think back,
Some people do and some people don't. For some people, this is natural. Some people, hands in the pockets. Guys, hands in the pockets is like what we do on the weekend.
yeah,
Don't do it on the stage. It's just not effective.
right,
You distract people.
Yeah.
You really, really distract people.
okay.
So body language, it must be consistent with whatever my energy is, whatever my point is. You know, I don't want to be, giving you the most exciting story in the world, and I've got this body language that says, you know, I'm barely here.
Right.
Or I don't want to be explaining a very serious topic and be like, all animated, right? I mean, you got it. Your body language has to be consistent, and your appearance needs to be consistent. If I'm coming out to talk about business, and I'm a business coach, and I show up in some kind of ceremonial robe, people are gonna be thinking, is this guy gonna take that robe off, right? Or what's with this, right? And they're gonna be so distracted by my appearance that
Sure.
they're not gonna hear what I'm saying to them. So just thinking about your appearance is very important. I actually was called out by Les Brown on this in a training that I went to. I was dressed all frumpy and everything, and I was talking about being one of the best rock climbers. He's like, dude, you look like grandpa. You know, so, you know, you need to make your appearance. And so I went across the street to Nordstrom's and bought a tight-fitting red shirt, and it totally worked. So appearance needs to be consistent.
I have a question.
Yeah,
When you're talking about appearance, does color matter?
color does matter. Color, just like color matters in marketing, color matters. I want to have, there's action colors like red, yellow, orange. Those are action colors. There's trust colors. There's luxury colors, black, gray, white. So depending upon what I want to portray, I want to be consistent. Like if I have a luxury product that I have on that table over there, and I come out in blue jeans and a flannel shirt, it matters.
Sure.
Right? So, and even if I come out in blue jeans that are the right color, it's got to be all consistent.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's almost less important what the appearance is specifically, but it must match the rest of what you're saying.
Okay.
You know, inconsistency is going to make people distracted. Then humor, we already talked about. Use humor. Okay, here's some ninja tips. Some of them we already talked about. Here, make it easier for you to see. All right, so yes questions. Yes questions draw people in, right? They help people to feel like you see the world the way they do. We talked about the exceptional underdog story. That's where your stories are. Hey, I really made a lot of mistakes. I struggled, and here's what I learned, and this is what I can teach you. Echo. So echo is another way to more deeply engage the crowd. If I say my point in my talk is success rewards action, I might say to the crowd, and the point of that is success rewards action. Success rewards what?
Action.
Action. And see, now I've made them again part of the presentation.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yep.
That makes sense? Who's seen people do that before?
Yeah.
Very effective in drawing people in. Very easy to do. Very easy to do. Audience check-in. You've seen me do it a couple of times. Hey, is this good?
Yes.
Do you want more?
Right.
Are you following me?
Yes.
Okay, those are audience check-ins where you're just making sure that people are with you. audience completes. That's where, like, if I give my quote, it was Henry Ford who said, whether you believe you can or you believe you can't, you're
Right.
Or that's true 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days
Yeah.
and it should be one word. I
Okay.
could say 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, something, you know, right?
Oh, yeah,
So
I
that
see.
last complete should be one word. So
Okay.
65 days a
Yeah.
year. And most people will take that cue. And again, now they feel like they're part of the presentation. And now they feel included because they knew something, like they knew
Right.
what I was going to say, right? So again, it's connected. Yes, I see the world as you do. Commands. I gave one example there when I did the text from stage, where I said, no, go ahead. Take out your cell phones. So I was basically giving a command. You said earlier, tell people what you want them to do.
Right.
Or I might say, okay, everybody get up, turn to the person to the left of you. Shake their hand, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
But give people commands. Now, very hard to do early in your talk. Why?
You haven't built the trust with them.
Bingo, front row. They don't know, like, or trust you yet. So you're like, okay, have you ever been in a talk where the first thing somebody does is say, hey, get up? And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, they're not going to make us dance, are they?
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? You've been there, right? Oh no, they're not going to make me do the hokey pokey, right? And it sets people off. But once you know, like, and trust me, you know that I'm here for your value. I won't embarrass you. Tie down is another way of doing a yes question, but use this when you're not sure if the whole audience is going to answer yes.
Okay.
Because sometimes there are questions which I'll use one that's kind of I probably would never do this, but it illustrates the point. So the future is always better. Yes or no? Maybe.
Maybe.
But if I say, I'm very optimistic about the future, that makes sense, right?
Sure.
So if I'm making a statement or asking a question that I think people may or may not agree with, I can flip it around, make it one of these tie downs where I make the statement and I say, that makes sense, right? And most people will say, yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
Without having to say yes or no.
Okay.
Because we tend to be negative. 2/3 of the words in the English language have a negative connotation to them. So we lean toward the negative.
So the bottom line is, make a statement
Make a statement.
and then follow with a, does that make sense?
That makes sense, right?
Yeah, okay. And then say, don't even ask, does it make sense?
No,
And
you're not asking a
make
yes
a
no question.
statement, then another statement that makes sense, right?
Yes. You've seen, or you could say, you've seen this, right?
Okay.
So really just asking people to, it's a way to get people to see a point of view on an area where some people might not always have experienced that. But I think if you ask it in a certain way, they'll say, yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
Contests. So, like what I did with the ninja trick, right? This is really, really, really effective when I'm in a big room and I'm speaking to entrepreneurs.
Oh, yeah.
And I give that talk about, hey, when you feel a ninja trick, anybody who gets up and yells ninja, I'm going to run over to you with a copy of my best-selling book, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'll tell you one reason that's good, but the other reason that's good is, what's the chance that that person I gave that book to is going to come up to me afterwards and want me to sign that book and want to talk to me?
Super high.
Super high, like 9 out of 10. Like
Yes.
9 out of 10. Some people, they look at the cover and they're like, this isn't for me. But almost everybody, if given a book with the author like 30 feet away, after the talk, is going to say, hey, could you sign this for me?
Yep.
And so now that's my opportunity to engage them in a very good conversation, you know? And if they thought enough of what I did, they might be someone who I might do business with. That's a ninja trick. And that really, really, really works very well. And I also asked them, and by the way, it'd be really helpful if you wrote a review if you like the book.
Sure.
So contests can be very, very effective. The power of the pause we talked about. That's where if I'm making a point, if I just go ahead and say, my mother brought my sister Donna and I to the front of the room. She told me that our father wasn't coming home again. But if I say my mother brought my sister Donna and I into the front room and she told us, see, I'm using that cadence, I'm using that power of the pause to keep you interested. You're waiting for that next word. Pause is extremely powerful. It takes a while to get used to because when we're up on stage, we're like, I got 35 minutes, I got it. So getting aware of that and using that is very powerful.
Quick question, what's the, I must have missed this, what's the difference between tie down and pull out answers? What was the tie down?
So, pulling out,
I don't think you talked about
I actually didn't talk about it. I think I might have skipped over pulling out answers. Sorry,
I think you were right to pull out answers, and I thought that was a tie down.
No, I think I went past pull out answers. So pull out answers is extremely, if you have a longer talk, you can't really do it in 10 minutes. You can't do it, maybe you can do it in 30 minutes. But that's a really great way to engage the group. Let's say I'm talking about mindset, and I'm talking about overcoming frustration, and I say, so who's ever experienced a frustration in their life? And about half the room's going to raise their hand, right? And then I could say, would you mind sharing, one of your stories of frustration? Half the time people say, no, I'd rather not. But then that's okay. How about you? 80% of the audience is waiting to tell their story, right? They really they want to tell their story.
Not
you
us.
might hit across.
We would never.
No.
Right? I mean, people want to tell their story. So most people, and this has happened to me, people say no. You say, oh, I totally understand. Second person is going to say yes. Then you ask them, so tell us about that. Well, how did you feel about that? Well, what was the big lesson you got from that? Okay, how many people have ever felt like he or she felt? Right? So just by pulling that out, you can generate content like then and there, right? Garner stories for yourself, keep it really interesting for the crowd. Longer talk, probably 30 minutes or over. Open loop, we talked about the open loop.
Oh yeah.
Before. Pattern interrupt. Okay, so pattern interrupt is anytime I do something that breaks the tone of what I'm doing. So I actually requested people in the room to give me a pattern interrupt earlier in the talk. I said, if you learn something that you think is really great, put your hand up in the air and yell ninja. So what do you think happens when somebody says, ninja? Everybody in the room goes, right? If they were like thinking about their phone or about lunch, they're like, ninja, what did I miss? Right? So a pattern interrupt is anything that breaks the pattern of what's going on in the room at the time. So that's a great way to have the audience generate a pattern interrupt. You can generate your own pattern interrupts. Let's say I'm in a room, and this can happen. You see one person start checking their phone, and like 2 minutes later, somebody else is going to start. It's like we are like monkeys, right? We start mirroring the patterns of those around us. So if that starts happening, what you can do is you can say, oh my goodness, I totally forgot about this. This is a point I have to make. I got to stop right now. Let me run over here to the whiteboard, and I want to talk about this right now. So anybody who is there is going to be like, what did I miss? So you can create your own pattern interrupts.
I love that.
It's very effective if you start losing people. And it's very easy, right? All you got to do is say, oh my, I just thought of something. And it can actually be the next thing you were going to talk about.
Right.
Right? The power of three. Power of three. So if I have a point, I say success reward. If I say success rewards, you're wondering what? But if I say success rewards action, it's this power. The cadence of three is powerful in our language. You'll notice that comedians use this, right? Before they tell the punchline, they'll say this, then that, and then bada boom, right? So anytime you can make 3 points. Whether you can say, it may be because this, or it may be because that, or it may be because this. You'll notice before when I said, if you're a new entrepreneur, or if you're a. So anytime you can have things in threes, it really resonates with people. And when you make a point, if you say success rewards vision, success rewards action. That way I can say success rewards what?
Vision.
People will easily know what you're asking them to do. So power of three. It's used a lot in comedy. If you take any courses on comedy, they'll talk about the power of three. Product placement we already talked about. So product placement is, if this is the future, I want to place my product then the path to learning, we already talked about. That's if you're a new entrepreneur, if you're a successful entrepreneur, if you are looking to take your business to the next level. Okay, so my promise at the beginning of this talk was that I was going to teach you at least one actionable thing that you could start like in your next talk, whether it be tomorrow or whether it be a week from now, that you can start using it. Did you get at least one thing that you can start using?
Oh yeah.
Excellent. And I think there were even some ninjas. So that's really good.
Yep.
So I hope people who are watching this also got some really useful things they can start implementing in their next talk.
That was awesome.
So there's my two calls to action. My one call to action is, what is this up on the slide?
The whoosh from.
What does it mean?
Oh, let's do it.
Just do it, right?
Just do it.
Just do it. So pick the thing that you resonated most with, whether it be the pattern interrupt, whether it be the yes questions, whether it be, and I would suggest you go to those foundational things. If there's things that are foundational that you haven't mastered, pick some of those out first, and then kind of move your way to the ninja tips. Those are a little harder to learn, but just pick some things and just try it. And if you master them and you do them well, you will move people to action much more readily. So my second call to action, if anybody wants more training, can I talk about an event that I have coming up?
Please.
So I've got some training events that I'm doing 4 different dates. They're full day speaker training where we'll go deeper into these topics. And then also I will help the people at the event, and it's only 5 people per day. And we will work on your talk. We'll work on your 10-minute talk. We'll craft the slides, we'll craft the message, we'll craft the story, we'll craft the call to action. You'll practice the talk. At the end of the day, you'll do the talk. And I'll videotape it. And you will get that videotape edited so you can use it to promote yourself in your own talking. And I will coach you through that entire process. I'll also talk about different kinds of stages. There are tons of different kinds of stages. There's free stages, paid stages. There's all kinds of stages. I'll teach you what the different kinds of stages are and what you need in order to win those kinds of stages. So it's a super valuable workshop. And this wasn't, I'm just going to run through this quickly. We're also going to have voting for best speaker. So at the end of the day, one person's going to be voted best speaker, and I'm going to give an award.
Nice.
So fun, fun. It's not going to be like everybody else is bad, but it's a good way to recognize somebody who's really got it and brought it. How to get on stages, what resources you need, coaching from me. So I've taken courses where it tends to be like $2,000 to $4,000 a day for speaker training. And that's kind of what, if you go to any of the speaker trainings, that's what you pay. So I was valuing this at $1,500. The edited video of your talk would be, I value at $500. Testimonials, you walk out of there, other people in the course are going to make comments on a video for you, giving you a testimonial about your talk, as will I. And it'll be all genuine. I'm not going to say you're the best speaker in the world if you're not, but I will compliment you on whatever your strength is.
Dan tries really hard.
Dan was funny. I love Dan's shirt. I'll teach people how to actually get good video testimonials. You'll get pictures of you speaking. So while you're speaking, we'll give you pictures of you speaking, all of which you need in order to win bigger stages. You think it's easier or harder to win stages if you have a video of you speaking?
Oh, it's easier.
Way easier.
Yeah.
So value it at $2,000, limited to 5 people. The investment is $247 for the day. Actually, my other slides that I didn't show today, I'm actually offering it for less than that. I'm actually offering it for $197 to people who contact me and sign up today. $197. And if 2 people, you got a buddy, it's $297. So, I want to be of value. I want to pass along all the things that I've learned over the past year, actually decade, and I want all of you to be better speakers. Thanks so much for your time and attention. I'm glad I delivered some ninjas.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Hey, you in the back.
Yep.
I know you.